and gentlemen, welcome to Life Beyond 6 Feet. The wait is over. I am back from the dead. This season, I'll be bringing back some past guests, and I plan on having some new guests. My very first guest is from season number 1, episode 11, Gil and Joey from the Black Cat Report. Guys, welcome to Life Beyond 6 Feet.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much for having us. We're super stoked not only just to be here, which is an honor, but also like stoked that you're coming back, man. We're both huge fans
Mhm.
of your show. It's like awkward because we're all like, friends off air, but I'm also like a fanboy when it comes to your show.
Yeah, we're definitely fanboying over here. And I
Yeah.
didn't know. Thank you for having us. I didn't know that we were the first guests that you're having back. So,
God
heck yeah. Thank you so much. We're super
yeah.
excited for this.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. And like I said, I appreciate, you guys welcoming me back and what we've been doing, over the
Hmm.
last few months, which we will dive into in a little bit. That's actually what's got the excitement back for me and wanting to start the show back up. So that's partially, because of you guys and Kristen. So thank you guys for bringing that back to me. So
Of course, it only took about 6 months of us constantly coaxing you and just kind of poking the bear, but
right,
hey man, the
Mhm.
best success comes slow, right? And we got you there.
right.
Yep, for sure.
So like I mentioned, you guys were my 11th episode, and back then, which was kind of almost 2 years ago now, I think. Um, it was a four-person show for a Black Cat
Hmm.
Report. Now you guys are just a two-man show.
Yeah,
Hmm.
So how did all that go down? Like I don't want to like stir the pot, but how did it become
let's
just
go
you
there.
two guys?
Let's go there. Let's fucking
Let's
go
get
there.
deep. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
go.
So fun fact, when you do a podcast, and two of the hosts on the podcast are, in some form of relationship with the other two hosts on the podcast, eventually sometimes occasionally people separate and then it's really awkward to do a podcast with the
Right.
with the with the
Yeah.
other folks, especially like we do a weekly show, so frankly whatever the fuck's going on in our life every single week, and in the not that we were sitting over there like throwing shit at each other behind the scenes or anything, but
No,
like
for sure.
you know relationships end, shit's awkward, you need time to kind of get over it and maybe become friends again and yada yada, life goes on. But when you're kind of seeing that person every single week and spending hours with them, and you're supposed to have the conversational styles of like a podcast with that in the background, it's awkward. And people's lives go on. So that's
Hmm.
just part of doing a weekly show, to be honest. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it
what
happens.
happened?
Making, adding into that, it's like sometimes also the subject matter can be really dark
True.
because we were getting,
Yeah.
a part of it, we were getting into some Richard Ramirez stuff, and that
Yeah.
is like awful. And a lot of ghost stuff, a lot of haunting stuff as well is, gets kind of dark in some ways. And so sometimes people don't need that out of their lives in some ways. And so, me and Gil kind of, I don't want to say won the custody battle in any way in a joking ways, but
Right.
I'd say we just like we're the two that, wanted to continue doing it. And, we do it weekly and we struggle and we love and we put so much effort into this that we just kept going. We're like, heck yeah, let's keep going. We love doing this, and a weekly thing is just part of our lives now, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And kind
Well,
of like mixing with that too, to kind of piggyback on that. Um, Part of it too, yeah, Joey, you're 100% right. I had actually just blanked on that, but you and I kind of had a higher tolerance level for some of the darker aspects of things that we cover because
Mm-hmm.
um we go real fucking dark sometimes with the topics that we're
Mm-hmm.
covering, the stories behind them, the cases. And I can tell you for certain, there's been a handful of episodes where doing the research for it, for long periods of time afterwards, I would see imagery that I didn't want to see when I was researching, but I came across that, every time I blinked, I would see it. Like some of that shit gets
Mm-hmm.
real dark and it sticks with you. And
Yeah.
it's a Highlander scenario. There can be only two in this case. We won. No.
Yeah, I like to say about that too, talking about how dark it gets through this,
Mm,
um you do see horrible stuff sometimes, and
Yes.
we go through sometimes series of episodes or series of topics where it's just dark, and sometimes me and Gil are just like, you know what, we just need a light, cryptid,
yeah.
funny episode, something light and easy that we can go into, that we can kind of take a breath of fresh air and kind of like look up and be like, oh, the world isn't so bad. It's kind of
Yeah.
nice outside.
Right. Well, I think it is pretty rad that you guys didn't let your personal lives completely affect the show. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, you guys are no longer with us, but we're going to continue the show with or without you. So I think that's
Mhm.
that says a lot about you guys in general, that you're this dedicated to something, that you continued it, and you've continued it so long. You guys just released, as of this recording, episode
Mhm.
100, which is fucking
Yeah.
amazing for anything. 100 episodes of a podcast, of a TV show, anything. That's a huge accomplishment. And
Yep.
how did you guys get there?
So sorry, I'm having memory problems because none of us sleep. But
So let Gil answer first.
no, sheer perseverance and stubbornness, to be honest. And a and you know this too. Even though so many listeners, like we just see the numbers on our end, it's so rare. No matter how much we encourage it, it's so rare to get listeners to actually like reach out to us, which is something that straight up we both get so fucking stoked. We get so excited about, like we're like I'm
We do.
screenshotting messages. I'm like, dude, look what this person said. Oh my God, they sent this and da da da. We always love that. It's not just welcome, it's encouraged and desired on our ends for
Hmm.
folks. It doesn't matter what the hell they have to say, just to reach out, even if it's to a complaint. We're
Yep.
excited,
Right.
just to communicate with their listeners. And I think, you know, in the anonymity of all the numbers, we see the downloads and we see how many followers on certain platforms and all this, and we only talk to a handful, but there's a there's something special that happens, when you release an episode and it's uploaded and you check and it's showing up on Spotify and then it's popping up on iTunes in the next hour and yada yada. And you go back and you look at the analytics coming in, and already within like 15, 20 minutes of it getting released, 5 downloads, 6 downloads, 10 downloads, 20 downloads, within 24 hours, and it's like 100 downloads, and you're just like, people were waiting, on the other end. Like people were waiting for us to release that. And
Hmm.
at a certain point, it just kind of becomes obligation's the wrong word. It becomes a duty, to deliver that to folks. And I know, and this is part of the reason why we started Black Hat Report. Um, you know, I know how much podcasts mean to me, right? And mean to us in terms of like we look forward to them every week, and they fit into our weekly routine, our schedule. It's like we turn this on at this point in our drive to work, because they're generally 25-minute shows, and that's the 25
Hmm.
minute mark before you get to your job, and you listen to it, and it's part of your Monday routine, or your Tuesday evening, or your Thursday when, your partner has to work late and you have an hour free at home and you're cooking dinner, and like it fits into to people's lives. And kind of, I know, 100%. I have my shows, yours included, that like they fit into a specific time slot or an activity in my life, and it's you become friends with podcast hosts, whether or not you've ever met them or talked to them. You feel like you know them, and always trying to kind of step back and realize like we're building that exact same type of relationship with our listeners. Um, it's we've gone through ridiculous lengths to always try our best to be responsible to this relationship that we've built up, even though we don't know all the folks. We'd like to, we'd love to. But we don't know them, but their emotions are real. They're not just numbers. They're not just, ad opportunities and sponsorships and ego of like, look how big we are and yada yada. No, 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 no. They're folks exactly like us. And we play a role in their lives. And I think that that's first and foremost something we always if we're gonna get stressed over anything, it's over that. We're like, shit, we gotta get this out. We have to fucking do this. Fuck
Right.
it, Joey. I know you just worked, two 16-hour shifts in a row and you're fucking exhausted. Drink some goddamn coffee. I've been writing for 3 days. I have this shit to do for work and yada yada. And like,
Yeah,
that has happened so many times. And it's
so
like
many
we
times.
have to do it for the
Hmm.
folks,
Yeah.
because we appreciate when it's done for us.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
we work real hard out there, and not just our podcast lives, because me and Gil, we have things in our lives that we do. We work to,
Yeah.
obviously, we all know, most podcasters know that podcasting doesn't pay the bills at the beginning or
Nope.
even close to the middle. You kind of have to go through working other jobs, so that's the reason we do it is because we love it. We love
Yeah.
script writing. We love the characters, and as much as loving people that listen to it, we love the topics. Like me and Gil don't pick a topic that we don't like. There's only
Yeah.
been one topic that I stopped liking after I did it, and we don't have to say it because I've always mentioned it everywhere I go.
Yeah.
But every time we do a topic because we want it, we're interested in it, and we hope that people are interested in it. My personal favorite is like finding interesting characters, and I always say this to Gil. I'm like, I love finding like interesting people to research into, because like they could, a serial killer can be, murdering people, but like, all serial killers murder people. I just like to find that little interesting thing about them. Like in Gil's, what was he, Joachim Kroll? He was like the Forrest Gump
I
of
was just
serial
thinking of him.
killers.
Oh my
Yeah,
God, that
yeah.
guy was ridiculous.
The Forrest Gump of serial killers. And that was such an
Literally.
interesting, like, little detail about him that like it was brought we can bring out in an episode to kind of give us this angle of like, this is this guy, but like look at him in this way, and it's a funny way. And me and Gail are all about a comedic podcast. We love to add funniness and comedy and something into it that doesn't just tell you exactly what's going on, because again, stuff gets dark, life gets dark, and
Yeah.
everything. It's hard to deal with sometimes, but sometimes you just want to hear about something really dark and then laugh, and
Hmm.
then just be like,
Yeah.
what is going on, like this is just the ridiculousness of it, the
Right.
levity. We like to add levity, and
Yeah.
that makes me happy when we do it.
Right.
Gallows humor is so fucking important. That kind of like dark humor where you can laugh in the face of death and pain and destruction and this and that and the other. And a lot of times too, and I always kind of worry if we're blurring the line or whatever, but I really hope that it comes across, never ever ever laugh at a victim,
Yep.
right? Um, but sometimes shit is just fucking absurd. Like
Hmm.
if when you break it down to just if it was black and white on paper, 1 + 1 = 2 kind of a scenario, like the actual situation itself is fucking absurd. And I know we're kind of like we're riffing on this here, but going back to like Joachim Kroll, there's a scene in there where there's it's kind of like a lover's lane kind of situation where this younger couple are, enjoying each other on the side of a lake in a secluded area out in the woods in Germany. And Joachim Kroll's being a creepy stalker, serial killer, Forrest Gump kind of person he is, and he's watching them, and he's like trying to think about like, how am I gonna get him? I got to get rid of the dude first, and then I can get to her, and that kind of thing. Serial killer shit. And shit goes down, and the lovers like take off in their car, and it's kind of like a dramatic scene. They're trying to go through the woods, they're panicking, obviously not going down the right roads and shit, and they end up at a dead end. And so they're turning around, and at this point they're an eighth of a mile in the woods away from where they started, and Joachim Kroll, who looks like, you know if he was still around when when like that was being casted for Forrest Gump, he would have fit the physical appearance of Forrest Gump better than Tom Hanks would. Let's just put it that way. Like he was a
Yeah.
goofy looking motherfucker. And hey, he's a piece of shit cannibal serial killer. I have no bad feelings about making fun of somebody in that case. So this goofy looking motherfucker that's like 4'3", skinny as a goddamn rail, and like in a tweed, sweater with like a dress coat. Like he looks like a professor, like the nerdiest, geekiest, weird professor you've ever seen in the woods with a butcher's knife. And he comes running up the road. So it's just this little guy, middle of the day, running up the road. And like he's running for so long up the road towards them after they turn their car around on this one-way road in the middle of the woods, that literally these people who were getting chased start to have a conversation. They're like, do you think he's in trouble? Because he's like flailing his arms above his head, like, ah, like trying to do a war cry, but he just it's kind of like an angry chihuahua. Like you can't really take him serious, as long as your ankles aren't in danger. And like he's like, ah, and he's like flailing his arms, running for like what had to have been 10 full-on minutes towards them. And the couples are like, I think maybe his car's broken down or he's in trouble. Like they're actually like, what the like they go from panic to like, huh. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The whole time dude's running towards them, planning on killing them, and they're just like, there's no way this guy's a threat. So the boyfriend or whoever gets out of the car, and he's like kind of waiting out in front of the car for Joachim Kroll to get there. And because at that point they were convinced, they're like, this guy's just, slightly crazy, but he's in trouble. And the second he gets there, Joachim Kroll just stabs him, and like kills him. And obviously things go, even worse from there. Um, but the absurdity of this movie-esque type of scene of like doon 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 doon. I'm just like him running and them just being like, maybe he's in trouble. I don't like nobody could take him serious. And when he was reported, he was basically reported by everybody to the police as this like crazy little forest gnome guy that was just running around out in the woods. But there's an absurdity to that. And, like it's okay to laugh at like that situation is just fucking absurd. Sucks that
Yeah.
somebody died. That's absolutely terrible. But like, these murders and these serial killers, they get glorified in, Netflix series and stuff like that. And they always have this like almost like vampiric kind of seduction to them, of like they're like suave and they're so fucking intelligent. And
even when they're not, like in real life,
sometimes they're fucking
which is-
idiots. And like
Yeah.
real life is awkward. Like real life is awkward. Waiters at fancy restaurants still drop shit and break things, like it's like real life is awkward and shit happens. And a lot of times people just don't cover that shit when they cover stories,
Right.
or to kind of keep riffing. I'm sorry to you cut all this out if you want. But something I love about that case is the more I dug into it and the more I was translating all these German police records and stuff, and then comparing what the police were saying and what the police were doing, from, actual government documents, right, to what newspapers were saying and what witnesses and shit at the time were saying. The more and I'm sitting there and I'm kind of like, okay, this happened on this date, this happened on this date, this news article about this date, that I'm building out this timeline because this guy basically had no information on him in the English speaking world, and let alone outside of Germany. And I realized there was an active cover up. The police fucked up. They had claimed for years that because there was we can be rated R on the show, correct? Is that right?
Fuck yeah, dude.
You already
Okay,
kind of were. You already kind of were the last
well,
like 20 minutes.
He had this like issue with, or not an issue. I don't know how to phrase it. After you do his things, he would come on his victims,
Oh,
and
shit. Wow.
he had such a massive amount of cum. His loads were so huge, right? And again, this is the obscurity and all this, that police thought it was, when they would find victims over the course of years, they thought it was gangs of boys that were raping women. They thought it was like groups of people. It's just one little weirdo dude. Um, and like all this transpired. So for years, the police were like, oh, it's gangs of boys, and they were arresting people and doing this and doing that. Joachim Kroll, when he finally got caught, was taking the police out everywhere. And the police were just like hyping it up there, like, we got this evil serial killer. He's driving us out to all these sites where he dumped bodies. He's reenacting the murders. And they were totally feeding into the media, like, because it was making them look good. Like, yeah, look at
Mhm.
that. We're in charge of the situation. We found it. Until Joachim Kroll started taking police out to places where the case had already, quote unquote, been solved, and started acting things out and was telling, detectives shit that they had never released to the public, and that was better better case. It was a better argument for them, the shit that they had assumed, and was showing their own incompetency, showing that they were lying, showing that they were off for years and years and years, and arresting the wrong people and blaming the wrong people, and people were serving time. And Joachim Kroll, who had an IQ of, I think, like 63, was out here making them look like fucking idiots, while shit tons of reporters were in the woods while the police were doing these investigations and like
Mhm.
getting all the shit reenacted. And so all of a sudden, it went from a media fanfare and circus, and people who didn't know what happened to their family members who were stuck to the newspapers every day. Like, who is he revealing now that he was involved in? Maybe it was the person I loved. Maybe it was this. Maybe it was that. Everybody's hooked on this. And then the police all of a sudden were like, actually, this is infringing on his civil rights. We shouldn't have the media out here and da da da. And so I found the before and after of like the judge and the prosecutor and stuff being like, this is great and this is good. And they were doing daily press briefings on everything he was saying and completely ignoring his lawyer. And then when he started to show that they were fucking incompetent and they had been fucking up, all of a sudden they were like, well, this is a concern for his civil liberties. We can't do this. We can't blah blah
Mm.
blah blah blah. We can't. And so that as a whole, like his whole story is barely touched on. When you look up Joachim Kroll, like you'll find like two paragraphs on him most of the time, maybe four if you're lucky. And when you
You'll
go
find
to
less than Gil just has been talking about.
100%, yeah. And no, but it's the truth. And this is, when Joey's saying like, it's things that we get passionate about, it's shit like this. We look into these, serial killers or UFOs or whatever.
Obscure.
It's these cases that we're like, there's something here, and we dig and we dig and we dig, and we actually start putting together resources and doing original research on it,
Right.
right? And actually building it, not just regurgitating a documentary or something, but actually
Mhm.
finding our own shit. And it becomes this bigger thing. And then it's like, it is just so fucking exciting for us to like get to share this shit, because we're
Mm.
like, hey, guess what? Nobody's ever done this.
Right.
No, you
Yeah.
can't find this anywhere else. And it's so exciting to like not just create something new, but to like explore and develop and research and actually build something new, like new stories and new
Mhm.
cases, and like have the receipts to prove it. They're like, here you go. Here's all the fucking research we did,
Here's
and
the
that
Right.
sources. Yep.
that shit keeps us going, man. Like that's part of the passion. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
All
and
right.
and like you guys don't take a break from recording. It's like nonstop. Like every week you
Yeah.
release an episode. So do you
Mhm.
see there being any sort of a break anytime in the near future?
No.
No, not
No.
intentionally.
There's two words. Two words. Me and Gil are gonna say each one word. 3, 2, 1. No.
Bananas. No, no, no.
There will be no breaks in our recordings. We will be following the model of one episode a week, and sometimes we will do 2 episodes in a week where we've done crazy amounts of work and or a half episode or something like that. If we have an interview, like special weeks, and sometimes we had plans to do 1 episode a day for 7 days. Was that 7 days or 12 days?
12 days.
12 days.
I have lofty goals and little time to fulfill them sometimes.
That will be a future episode set of episodes one day.
Yeah.
We love the weekly thing because every week we learn
Yep.
something new. Sometimes we even do like we do so July. We'll just make an example too. In July of every year, we do a topic month. So we
There you go.
basically do an episode every week that's on one topic. Like last year's was cannibal month. So
Mhm.
it was really exciting to do 4 episodes in a row about cannibals. By the end of it, we're like, we're not gonna do cannibals
We're
for a
full.
long
Yeah.
time. We're full. We're full. Yeah. Thanksgiving dinner was beautiful. Don't know why we do it in July. It just happened to be random week month. We were just like, let's just do a topic month.
Cannibal
We
month.
have
Yeah.
a special month this month as well in July that we haven't
Mhm.
released yet. I don't think we're gonna tell the topic of. We made jokes that
We
we don't
can.
have a topic. We do. Do you want to release the topic
Well, this
for
is
this month? Let's
well
do it
since
on Damien's show.
we're episode 1 of Damien's new season, which is getting released on July 4th.
Right.
So
Mhm.
this would just be, let's see. Yeah, so we'd be releasing that Sunday on the 7th. So yeah, man, go for it.
You know, our topic this month for July month is going to be dun 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 time travelers. We're gonna do 4 episodes about time travelers. So
Yeah.
we have 3 out of the 4 I think already picked, maybe the
Mhm.
Nice.
fourth one, and so we are excited to do that. That's gonna be very interesting because I've
Like I
never looked
say,
into time travelers before. So
right. I just ran across a video just a couple of days ago on TikTok about this guy saying he was a time traveler and he was there at the Gettysburg Address by
Mm.
with Abraham Lincoln. There was a picture that he's shared, and he's like that kid is me. He's like that is me,
Mm.
and it was really strange. And he was like convinced. He's like that's really me. He's like I was there. I remember everything that happened, and I'm like that's fucking wild, dude.
hmm.
Now you
Mm.
mentioned you touched on Joey about having guests. Do you guys plan on doing more guests in the near future, or are you just gonna kind of keep that to the bare minimum?
No, we love having guests. We will continue having guests on our show. Because it's always like an interesting. Like we just had a guest recently for a 2-part interview. Gil's friend and an amazing woman. She is crazy smart. If you haven't
Dr.
listened to the
Mila Bowie.
episode, yep. Have you ever listened to the first episode? Please go listen to it because she bended me and Gil's brains up into a
Yeah.
higher tier. She like literally reached down and pulled us up into that higher tier of thought. And we're like, cool, let's
Yeah,
get into this. And so that always helps us, especially for future episodes.
episode 100 and episode 101 with Dr. Mila Bowie, who is one of the world's foremost leading experts on artificial intelligence and data and processing and market research. And she's quite literally a genius.
Mm-hmm.
And she's also just a complete gem of a human being and very
Mhm.
like endearing and just super, um, just an awesome person. They've been a
Yep.
friend of mine for a couple of years now. But yeah, that interview, that was again something, new for us. We never got dipped into like artificial intelligence, but we wanted to
Right.
do something special for episode 100. And it was an honor afterwards, after recording, talking to her when she said, like, you pushed me to think about things that I've never considered before and pushed me like, to explore areas and ideas and concepts that I would have never have thought of. And, we're just sitting here like our eyes, just wide-eyed and amazed, like that's what you did to us the whole time. So if we could deliver that back to you. So, and that's the,
Hell yeah.
that's the kind of stuff that comes with guests. So, hey, listeners, specialists, thinkers, whoever the hell it is out there, if you've got something super awesome, hit us up, run it by us. Like we've brought on just listeners that have hit us up before,
Mm-hmm.
where they eventually tell us some crazy story, and we're like, hey, do you want to come on the show and be on an episode? Like, hell yeah, come on, let's go.
Right.
Yep.
And you never know what may come of it because I was actually on your guys' show before you
Yeah.
were on mine, and
Mm-hmm.
look at us now. We've been pretty good friends now for about a good year or so. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, now Gil, I know you've mentioned here recently you plan on you want to do more interviews promoting Black Cat Report. How are you going to
Mhm.
go about that? Are you just going to reach out to people? Like how do you get on podcast?
um, I have I think I have a simple mentality when it comes to it. It's the same way that I reached out to you a long time ago. which was finding content creators, podcasters, whoever the hell it happens to be, and just asking.
That's how I got.
Because at the end of the day, worst case is no or just no response, and it's like, well, life goes on, whatever,
Right. I
like,
mean, that's honestly how I got on 98% of mine. I don't think
yeah,
think very few actually reached out to me.
yeah.
So now about a year ago, Gil,
Hmm.
you were a part of something on my show here on Life Beyond 6 Feet. It was called the
Yes,
Paranormal Roundtable.
yes,
And that was actually your second appearance. So now this is your third appearance on my show.
yeah.
And during that, that roundtable, another past guest of mine, which we are all really good friends with now, you met Kristen Amanda. You
Hmm.
guys hit it off, and then I don't even remember how we got into it, but I think you were talking to me about something, and you were talking to Kristen about the same thing. You're like, "Hey, let me put you guys in a group chat, and we can all talk about it." And who would have thought that that would have led to what we are all doing, kind of as a side gig now? Let's kind of dive in to beer, booze, and boogeymen for a minute. Um, when you started that group chat, that was like the furthest thing from my mind. I was like, this is going to become another podcast for us to do. And it you eventually added Joey into the group chat, which I didn't really even know, other than talking to him on the interviews we done together. And
Hmm.
I think it was initially my idea that me, you, and Kristen started like an extra podcast.
As
And
my oh, sorry, go ahead.
I if I remember correctly, I think I was like, "Hey, let's start another," because I was still on hiatus from this,
Hmm.
but I wanted to do something, but not like all the time.
Yeah.
And I think you're the one that actually came up with the name.
Yes.
And I think you were
Yeah.
joking about the name,
Partially, yeah.
and I was like, "No," I was like, "That's actually really a really cool sounding thing." And then it kind of, just rolled from there. So what's your initial thoughts on how this all started?
Yeah. From my memory of it, and you're gonna have to ask Kristen if she can confirm this. I don't think any of us wants to scroll through all the messages we send each other to find when it started. Um, but so Kristen and I we became friends after the show because there was such a blatant crossover in terms of like our love for Art Bell. She was quoting on the Paranormal Roundtable episode shit that I was literally writing notes about, like, well, there was this case, da 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 da. And so like we were on the same wavelength like that. And if you ever want to get an Art Bell fan excited, just introduce them to another Art Bell fan. Like you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, because it's a very small niche community and we're big fucking nerds. And so her and I became friends. You had started saying things along the lines of like, hey, I want to do podcasting again. I miss it, like it was so much fun. Um, but I want to, kind of remix and revamp the way that I'm doing it, to kind of go off of the lessons that are, basically to grow from the lessons you would learn from previous seasons with the show. And you were like, I don't know. And so, you and I were kind of going back and forth. I had reached out to Christian, and at that point, I was already trying to encourage you to start some type of call-in show. Again, I'm an Art Bell fan. So I was like, dude, you should totally do, a paranormal call-in show, yada, yada, yada. And you were like, I don't know, I don't know. And so I reached out to Kristen and I was like, hey, do you want to help? Want to help me bully Damion into pulling the trigger and doing this, and I think and that's when we created the text group Future Call-In Group, which is like our notorious behind the scenes text group, because it was literally supposed to be a future call-in show, right? So
It
um
still is that now on the text group.
yeah. And so, you know, Kristen and you and I were talking and da 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 da, and ideas developed, so on and so forth. And I want to say it was sometime before we finalized the name Beer, Booze, and Boogeyman. The whole time, Kristen and I kind of thought you were doing the show. We were trying to help you formulate ideas and go through it. And then all of a sudden the language on your end changed to we. And you were like, so when are we doing this? And I was like, the fuck? And so then it was like, and you were just like, bro, I can't do all this shit on my own. Like, y'all got all these, big plans and it's all complicated and da 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 and all this other crap. Like, come on, man. What the hell? And so we were like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it. Um, and so that's how Beer Booze Boogeyman started from my memory of it. But so it was kind of, we were all roping each other into it. We're all coaxing
Right.
each other towards it. And I was constantly early on being like, Joey, you gotta get involved. And he's like, I don't know, I'm pretty busy. And da da da. I'm like, damn it, Joey, you gotta get involved.
And
And
then
eventually,
I, I
eventually
would
I coaxed him.
I would always forget he was in the group chat because like he never
Yeah.
said anything.
I
And
read
then
all,
and,
but never say.
he like would eventually agree to be a part of the show, but I would still forget he was a part of it because he would never say anything. I was like, oh shit, I forgot about Joey.
And
Yeah.
that's if folks look at the logo when we were getting the logo designed,
Mhm.
specifically, it was very intentional about we have to figure out a way to hide Joey in the logo because we all kind
Mhm.
of picked our avatar. It was like D-Booz or Damion, like you're the ghost. Kristen is Bigfoot. I was the gray alien. And I was like, how the hell can we hide Joey in the logo? So in that way, when he does come on the show, he already kind of fits in. And so we decided like who's kind of creepy back hanging off on the side because we were already teasing him about that.
Mhm.
And like Mothman. Mothman is perfect. And Joey's like, I am
Yep.
definitely Mothman.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
if you look at the eyes of the logo in, I think it's the word boogeyman, there's
Mhm.
two red glowing eyes to
Mhm.
represent Mothman to represent Joey. So all four of us are hidden in there.
Right.
Mhm.
And now we're approaching, was it episode 6 now?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because we just said we'll do it once a month. We'll do it the first Saturday of each month, and we do have some other stuff in the works, which I'm not going to talk about yet because when this episode releases, we will not have done episode 6 yet, which we're going to talk about that stuff on episode 6. So I'm not going to dive
Only
into
2
that, but
days away.
it would
Yep.
be, but
Yeah.
so some pretty exciting stuff we have on the horizon for that, and
Yeah.
I know we're all pretty
Mhm.
excited about that. So I'm
Mhm.
gonna jump back to BCR for just a minute. Now, of course, you guys do a little bit of everything: haunting, serial killers, alien stuff like that. Of course,
Mhm.
my uh, biggest thing is hauntings and ghosts and stuff like that. So, with the episodes you guys have done, what's been like the one haunting one that has stood out to you guys the most?
I can go first on that because I love the mix of all the styles of it, and there's one especially that mixes serial killer and hauntings, and I think you know this one too. Fox Hollow Farm with her Bowmeister. And that one, serial killer, obviously, killed a bunch of people, buried, didn't even bury them in his yard, just kind of let the bones live there and just put him out there. Eventually was found out, went and killed himself in Canada with a
Hmm.
gun. A weird little conspiracy theories on if he killed himself or somebody did it. Eh. But afterwards, somebody else bought the house, and it was a beautiful, beautiful, almost like castle-ish looking house, like real Tudor style. And the people who moved in there started getting hauntings. And like they were just normal people, and started having hauntings of people with like no legs running, walking through the forest, and then people slamming doors. And one of the guys who like rented out the place was friends of the owner. He rented out the little thing above the garage, which is a big, like I think 3-4 car garage, and there's an apartment above it. And he was saying that like he'd sit in there at night and just the door would freaking he'd hear a knock on the door and he'd open the door and nobody's there and he'd feel somebody rush in. And just like he'd have all these hauntings, and it was kind of almost surrounded by this one guy and his and the wife of the owner of the house, because she had her vacuum be unplugged a few times and looked at it while it happened, not by her, but it just randomly happened. So hauntings, like I love when they mix with other stuff too, which is kind of cool because you get the double, the double version of it. You get the killer and you get the hauntings. But Fox Hella Farm is probably one of my favorite hauntings that's out there.
Right,
I
Gil,
don't
what
know if you've
about
heard
you?
about that one, Damien.
I think I have. I think I've seen something on it. I don't remember what it was, but I think I've seen something on it.
Mhm.
I don't
Gilbert.
know what my favorite would be. I mean, Joey's already got Fox Hollow Farm, which is definitely for literally, same reasons. 100%. It's
Mhm.
definitely my favorite. I don't know. I don't actually okay, so if we can count demons as hauntings, right?
Hmm.
In the spiritual plane, let's put it that way, right? Or they're close to the same plane. Recent episode that we did, which was Demons of War,
Mhm.
and that the concept and stuff came so organically. I got this massive encyclopedia of demons from all around the world. It's beautifully written. It's just a fantastic piece of research, let alone, just the content itself. Um, and I'd kind of thumb through it. I'd be, sitting outside smoking a cigarette and just kind of thumbing through it and reading about demons from all over the world, from, small Amazonian tribes to the Inuit to, like folks in Malaysia to ancient Greece, and just kind of scrolling through and reading. And this pattern popped up, and where demons were being mentioned only appearing on battlefields. That's it. Just during actual warfare. That was it. They weren't
Hmm.
related to before or after or the hauntings or anything. No. Just literally during battle. That's it.
Hmm.
And so I'd kind of gone through and I picked out uh cultures and time periods and distances that 100% made sure that there was no cross pollination in ideas or religion or anything. It was like there's no fucking way these folks in ancient Greece were connected to this indigenous tribe in the Amazon with only 7,000 people, like during this time period. But look at what they're explaining and the behavior of the demon, and it's identical. It's like damn near identical. Um, I think that was my favorite because it really pushed me to view the paranormal world, right? The spiritual plane or the death as an ecosystem,
Hmm.
right? And to not view it as this like separate thing, but and I think Joe, you pointed it out in the show, but as above, so below, right? That old adage, which just keeps showing itself to be true over and over again. Um, these demons kind of come in almost like the crows and the rats and the roaches on a battlefield when it's scattered with dead bodies, and like start the process of decomposition.
Hmm.
And these
Mhm.
demons were coming in starting a process of almost spiritual decomposition at the exact same time, right? And I don't know. I think that might be my favorite.
Well, it definitely was an interesting episode. I'm not a huge podcast listener because I just don't have a lot of free time between work and kids, and so when I get to listen to Black Cat Report or Paranormal Girl, I try to listen as much as I can, and that was one that I know I did listen to, and it was super intriguing talking about the goggles and all that shit, and then
Mhm.
I was like, dude, that is insane
Yeah.
that this happened. It was wild, but that definitely was an interesting episode. And that was like episode what, like 96, 97, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not too long
So
ago. Yep.
yeah.
In the 90s. Yeah.
So it was definitely interesting. And like I said, I feel bad that I don't listen to your guys' show as much as I should. But like I said, just between work and kids and my drive to work is only like 15 minutes. So I
Yeah.
don't have a lot of time to actually sit and listen because when I'm off work, I'm constantly going, doing something either
Mhm.
at the house or I'm having to do stuff like errands and so I don't have a lot of free time. And but that's something I do want to start doing. Even if I don't listen to all 100, I want to try to pick and choose something that'll
Yeah.
more interest me in
For
listening
sure.
because I'm I'm not super big into like Bigfoot and stuff like that. So that one may
Mhm.
not ones like that may not interest me that much. To where
Mm.
like the demon ones and the haunting ones and even the serial killer ones have, those are can be fascinating too. I found myself watching a whole lot of true crime documentary over the last few months, and I never thought I would ever get into that.
Yeah.
And some of that stuff is just like, how the fuck do these people get away with this for so long? You know, and it's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can say people getting away with it. Sorry to add into this. It's probably about 95 to 96% cop incompetence.
mm,
Yup.
Yep. There's about 4 to 5% where it's like, okay, there's been cops and they're really looking for these people and they just have to wait until they
mm-hmm,
kill more people to get evidence.
right,
Sometimes like with Richard Ramirez, I would say there really wasn't that much cop incompetence in that. They were just literally trying to find this guy that had really no rhyme nor reason to why I was doing it. And with like Herb Baumeister, there was like cop incompetence. They did not do anything
Yeah.
to find this guy. And
Yeah.
again, we can always go into like, are they really looking for somebody who's killing, homosexual people or trans people? Are they really looking for those people in those
mm-hmm,
times? Do not investigate all those kind of things.
right,
You kind of have to go put that into it. I put that into cop incompetence and just horrible job being a cop. So it kind of add that in there. But like again, it is interesting. You're right. Like,
mm-hmm,
how did they get away with this sometimes,
right, and yeah, it's wild. And I think
Mhm.
what really kind of got me drawn to it is I don't remember if you guys remember, my sister had started a crime podcast
Mhm.
last year, and she
Yeah.
she made it about 6 episodes in, and then just life took over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I was helping her come up with ideas. She's like, I
Mhm.
don't want to do episodes about the same people that is always out there. I want to do
Yeah.
ones about people that people don't know a lot about. And so I'm like
Mm-hmm.
sitting there trying to research, and I'm like, hey, check this one out. And she's like, well, that's really fucking strange. Let me do that one. And so like a lot of her episodes, I found her the ones for her to do episodes on, but
Mhm.
it's really
Yeah.
intriguing. So people want to listen to all 100 episodes of Black Cat Report. How can they do that?
Yeah, so you can go to bcr.bio/links. Easy way to find that if you're trying to remember is to just hit us up on Instagram, Black Cat Report, on X, on, Facebook, on YouTube, wherever. But you can find our Linktree page. I think we're on over 85 different platforms at this point. And they all get updated within a fairly reasonable hour. I've noticed some random podcatchers, it'll be like 3 days after we publish an episode where it's like new
Mm-hmm.
episode released. And I'm like, damn. But more or less, it's coming out on a consistent weekly schedule. But yeah, so bcr.bio/links. Or you can go to our website, blackcat.report. There's an entire section there about where to listen. I have not updated the show listings on our website since I think like episode 30, so now it's just becoming more of a task. But
Yeah. You
but
can
yeah,
find us on your normal Spotify,
yeah,
Apple. You can find us on pretty much any podcaster that's
YouTube,
out there. And
yeah,
Gil has had a open question to people. If you can not
yeah, a
find us
bounty.
on, yeah, a bounty. If you cannot find us on a podcaster service or something like that, send it to us. And Gil, what do we send them?
I'll mail you a sticker
Mm-hmm.
immediately. So we got an active bounty going. If you want a free sticker, not that we wouldn't just send you one anyways, but if you want a free sticker, find a platform we're not listed on. Hit us up, let us know. We'll get listed on it, and you'll get some free merch and a nice little handwritten thank you letter from
Yeah.
Joey and I.
We're also on all the major social media platforms. If you want to find information, that's where most of our up to date information is when episode releases are happening. If we have new information for you. Hey, if we're going to be late on a week, because sometimes that
Life.
happens. You know,
Yeah.
we get an episode not out on Sunday, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So you can catch us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X. I think we're on X.
Yes.
Yes. So you can
Not
find
the
us on all
drug,
that stuff.
not the drug, but formerly Twitter.
Not every day, you know, just Twitter. X
do-
Twitter.
I do know one you guys are not on.
Oh,
You're not on MySpace. Send me a sticker.
that's not a
There
podcatcher though, Damion.
It's
It's a
still.
social media platform.
He also said we're on all major social media. I'll
All
win.
right. Well, get on MySpace.
Well,
All right, so
get
we're
on
ending that
MySpace.
technicality.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I
We're gonna
don't
put
want to
out a
get
press release.
60 people like, why aren't you on Mastodon? Just be like, dude, like,
Yeah. I think we're on
yeah,
Medium too, actually. Aren't we on
yeah.
Medium?
Haven't
Yeah,
published
we're on
anything
Medium.
there, but we are.
Oh, I got to
Yeah.
get on that. That's my fault.
I don't have a life, so I just keep adding us to everything.
So if people
Yeah.
want merch, do you have a way to get merchandise, like a mug or a shirt or?
Yeah, so
It's gonna be new for us.
95% of that store is ready to go. There's a couple things need to get figured out on the back end, mostly on the banking side, because at the moment, the reason why we haven't released it publicly yet is anytime somebody buys something, however much it costs is being pulled from my bank account at the moment, and then 4 or 5 days later, whatever they paid gets deposited into my bank account. That's a problem because I don't know how much people are going to buy in what
Yeah.
amounts, and
Right.
homie, I got rent sometimes, you know? So like so waiting until that banking side gets figured out the second it gets resolved, hopefully, you know, honestly, sometime over July, we'll have that up. We've got 50, 60 products and like
Mhm.
merch options and things that are on there. And you know, we're always down to take ideas for things too.
We will
It's
make stuff for you. If you have a
yeah.
great idea and you're like, hey, can you guys make this for me with the BCR format, you know, Black Cat Report format? We'll try to design something for you. You know, we love if you want to have your own unique thing. You know, right
Yeah.
now Gil has a sweatshirt. I think he's actually wearing the BCR sweatshirt right now. Yep.
Yes.
That he created. I don't have my hat on. I have a BCR hat that's green, you know, with the logo. A t-shirt as well. He's got mouse pads. You know, we got lots of stuff in the works. So yeah, we want you guys to be happy with your BCR swag, you know?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So if people want to watch Beer, Booze, and Boogeyman, how do they do that?
Oof. Well, by the time this episode will be airing, Beer Booze and Boogeyman will have its own dedicated, fully up to date and running YouTube. So you'll be able to hop on to you. That's the good thing about the name. You're not going to have a lot of other results coming up to confuse it with anything. So
No.
just go in to YouTube, type in beer, booze, and boogeymen. We should show up. If not, again, there's another bounty. Let us know. We'll send you a sticker. But we should show up there. Again, it's first Saturday of every month. Right now is our big shows. Hint,
Mhm.
hint. And generally, depending on your time zone, between like 6 to 7 o'clock evening on Saturdays. You ain't got shit else to do. You should come join us. You know, call
Right.
in, tell us your creepy
Come-
stories, and let's have
Come
a good
drink
laugh.
and have fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And for those that may not know, each
Mhm.
episode we try to come with a paranormally themed drink, which I have the biggest fucking problem trying to find something. But that's kind of part of our deal. You know, we drink during the episode. We try to keep it paranormally related. Whether it's a UFO related beer or a Bigfoot or a ghost or whatever it is, we try to keep it with the show. And each
Mhm.
episode is you know, has to do with either Bigfoot or I don't think we've done one on Bigfoot yet.
Mm-mm.
No, we
Mm-mm.
haven't. Um God, what have
Not
we
yet.
done? We've done haunted workplaces, we've done haunted
Haunted AI.
electronics, haunted AI and
Yep.
electronics, we've done strange lights,
Mm-hmm.
we've done
Tried to do truth or trash, but YouTube decided to trash us
Yeah.
and keep us along with anybody else live streaming at the time off the air. So that's
Yes.
going to have to be the value on that one's going to be in the replay, which should be released by the time this is coming out. But,
right.
Yeah.
And then we've done one about afterlife communication.
Yep.
And then
Last
our
call.
next one was our next one is Joey's idea. So Joey, go ahead and plug that one, buddy.
Yeah, they pretty much forced me into creating an episode topic, and I don't know if I was ready. But as Gil can appreciate, actually, I don't think Gil can appreciate this. As Gil can accept, I work really good under pressure, and I came up with a really good topic: conspiracy theories. And I can see Gil biting his lip over there, making sure he doesn't. Conspiracy theories, and that was one of my big things that I kind of like. So it's called Theories on Tap and your favorite conspiracy theory. So we want you to call in with your favorite conspiracy theory, or it doesn't even have to be history, it can just be one you made up. If you have a conspiracy theory that you made up and you're like, I want to get this out there, call in and tell us. No matter how wacky, how amazing you think it is, or how crazy you think it is, I want you to call in and tell us. We all want you to call in and tell us, and we can't wait. And we're all going to have our own favorite conspiracy to tell, throughout the time as well. So,
yeah, I got to do some research on that. So,
mm-hmm.
I've got a couple in mind. So, I'm going to keep it to the show, though.
Yeah. We like to push each other's boundaries, as like of what we can, like what we learn from, And so, Gil with doing truth or trash, having to remember a story that's truth or trash, or, haunted AI, similar thing to be like, not always do we have stories about it until we like really push ourselves to be like, I actually think I have a story, like it comes back to you, And so we like to push each other just a tiny bit to kind of like get into those modes, get into those topics.
Right.
And that's really the goal, with the show is, we kind of start off with the hosts all kind of sharing their, whatever the topic happens to be, it's the host sharing their 2 cents on it. And then we open up the lines. We have a phone number for folks to call into, and we take live calls and we respond live on air. The lifeblood, right, of the show itself is really the callers calling in, us getting to finally freaking chat with folks that like, listen to our shows and are a part of the overall paranormal and high strangeness loving community, So it's hey, it's a drag and sad if we're not getting, if we're not getting those lines filled. Like it's the best when folks are calling in, when they're engaged, when they're excited, when they, want to tell us their stuff. And that's the excitement behind the show itself. And the concept is, we don't know, once we open up the lines, we have no clue who's going to call in, what they're going to tell us, and what it's going to be about. But sometimes, like the night might be starting off kind of slow and might just kind of be like, yeah, so we're doing this. And then somebody calls in with a story about Bigfoot running down the mountain with a glowing member and making love to somebody's trailer. This actually happened, right? So like we have no idea, and that's the excitement, right? So nobody besides you, the caller, actually knows where you're going to take us. And that's the point of the damn show, right?
We like to go along for the ride.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So I've done went fucking blank because my wife's actually texting me at the same time I'm trying to record this. So
tell her to say hi.
So I guess I'm gonna wrap it up on that because like I said, I kind of touched on everything I wanted to touch on, and that sounds really bad. Kind of got the listeners of my show that may have not listened to your show before or did listen to the first episode kind of get caught up to what you guys are doing now, and that's a big part of why I wanted to bring you on, to kind of get my listeners caught up and to help promote you guys some more. So I know, Gil, that's something you've been wanting to do. So
yeah.
All right, well, guys, I will chat with you next time,
dude. Real quick, thank you. This has been a blast. Like we said up top, we are just so stoked. You're getting back in. You're bringing back Life Beyond 6 Feet. You're doing it again. It's like you, my man, deserve to be podcasting. You need to and super stoked, and it's such an honor to be on your show. Like Thank you.
I do
It
want to
is.
say that I'm not going to be releasing them every week like I was. I'm going to go to every other week to kind of lighten the load a little bit because I think
Mhm.
that's partially why I got burned out the first time because I was doing it every single week. And
Yeah.
doing it every week, at least for me, I was getting frustrated because there would be last minute cancellations and I'm trying to
Yep.
scramble to
Mhm.
find somebody. And that was happening more and more. And I was having internet issues and I was getting pissed off. I was like, this is just not fun anymore.
Yeah. And
So,
you're running it by yourself too, which is
mhm.
kind of that's hard. Me and Gil can lean on each other for episodes, switching back and
Yeah.
forth. So running it by yourself, you and Kristen, I have no idea. I am all,
Yeah.
bowing
We
down to
applaud
you
you.
guys for that. Yep.
Well, when
Yeah.
I originally started, I had a co-host and he was only
Mhm.
able to make it on for like 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah.
And then when I started season 3, I tried to have another co-host, and I'm just like, it just I feel like this show works better with one host.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because when you're trying to interview somebody, you're almost when at least in my experience, when there's two hosts, you're running over each other, and it was getting frustrating. So,
Yeah.
but like with our show, with 4 hosts, we kind of know when each other is going to speak, I guess, in a way, and then we haven't really run over each other that much. So
Yeah.
No.
I think that's pretty rad. So,
Mhm.
all right, guys. Well, again, thank you for coming on. Like I said,
Thank you, brother.
I'm sure I will
Thank you.
probably chat with you guys again soon. I don't know,
I have a
it's
feeling.
not like we talk that much or anything. So,
At least
No, not on a text group or anything.
sneaking
right.
suspicion.
All right,
Whatever
guys.
works
Well,
better.
thank everybody for listening. Go check out the Black Cat Report. Listen to all 100 episodes. By the time this comes out, they'll be up to probably like 110 or something by then. So be sure
104, I
to
think.
We'll be up there.
so
Thank
just
you,
be
man.
sure to go check these guys out. Give them a follow on all their social media. If you have any ideas, send them their way. They're all about making you guys happy. So
Please.
definitely check out Black Cat Report. Joey,
Yep.
Gil, thank you guys.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Damion.
Damian.
And this is my sign off because I don't have a sign off. Everybody, keep it spooky.